Hi, again. Welcome to the new Old Newberg, down to the bones. Thank you, Janine, for doing this for me. I don't think I thanked you last time. Well, I think I might have, but we did so many run-throughs that I probably didn't for the last one. And I also want to thank Patty Lemire. Patty lives in Morrisburg, and Patty bought this dollhouse right here. I got a couple paper things, Janine, that we're going to zoom in on.
Okay.
So Patty Lemire bought this probably around the same time I did. I mean, our kids are sort of similar in age too. So I'd say mid 80s, late 80s. This is called the Newberg, and oops, sorry. And you can, the little girl in the picture is like definitely mid 80s or thereabouts. So she bought it and she never did anything with it. And she saw me working on the other dollhouse and thought, wow, maybe I'll give it to a new home. So thank you, Patty, because it's been lots of fun. But at some point, it became apparent that changing it that much from what it was to a completely different shape was going to be more work than building that from scratch. So at that point, you have to decide what's crazy. And I wasn't completely confident in my woodworking skills, and I'm still not. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna take the basic shape and I'm gonna use it, but I am gonna alter it. So this. Another close-up on this picture, Janine. I can't tell where you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can see through it, which is kind of good. So this is what they wanted you to make the dollhouse look like. This was their suggestion, okay? But we weren't going to go with that. Very Victorian, and that really, and I've mentioned this before, at the time, that's what you could buy. And that was what all the furniture that you could buy was all Victorian. So it makes sense. So I knew I didn't want shingles. I still don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do a tin roof. I knew I didn't want these fixed scales. I knew I didn't want all this fussy porch stuff, for sure. I was going to keep the porch the same, but that's another story that I'll tell you in a minute. I didn't want to keep these steps the same. I knew I was going to change those. So let's now go to the house and see what we did do. So starting from... Well, let's see, I added this skylight, for one thing. I'm not doing any of that fussy stuff. So this is all the coffee stirrers, like we did the hardwood floors from before. They're not all stained yet. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So that's where the color is varying a little bit. On this side, there was a window box that jutted out about, I don't know, about 1.5 inches. And it was this big. You can still actually see it. Kind of too bad that isn't smoother. However, I'm going to put something else there later, so I'll tell you about that. So there's a window box here that comes out. So inside you've got a window seat. This window was 2 windows that were skinny. They were taller, longer, and not even the same height. So one came down here and one came to there. I was like, I don't even understand what that's all about. So change that. And the reason why I changed them, you'll see when we go inside. But I'm just showing you the changes we made on the outside. The porch, I don't think there's anything over there except for the exterior. That's the board and that, and then the window treatment. I don't think there's anything on the other side. The other side is basically as it was supposed to be. The porch was interesting because I had not really intended on changing the front porch. So it was to look like this, with its little sloped roof and its little, what do you call those? Porticos? No, portico? Not a dormer. Is it a dormer? The little thing. Anyway, I go to find the roof, and the roof is gone. It is not anywhere to be found. And I looked through everything 100 times. So I probably thought it was an unused piece of lumber or whatever and cut it up for something else. I don't know. It's gone. Anyway, that made me start searching modern porches. And I think I came up with an even better idea. So what I'm going to do is make the porch roof flat. Well, almost flat. It doesn't have to, we don't have to worry about snow.
I was concerned about snow right
We
there.
don't have to worry about that. So we can cross that off the worry list. So it's going to be fairly flat. None of that fancy stuff. A single pillar here and wraparound steps here.
And the show.
Eventually.
Oh,
It's coming up here. That's later on.
not a greenhouse.
Well, I think I'm going to use a greenhouse style, but it's going to be an art studio. So maybe a combination. I don't know. I say I'm going to put an art studio in every house. I never have yet, so who knows. The front door was kind of, although these windows had I don't know if it shows up in the picture or not. It doesn't really. They all had stenciled white fancy frilly things, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And the door was very ornate, which there's nothing wrong with, but it just wasn't the style I was going for. So, and this is, again, it isn't all stained, but I made this kind of more modern looking door, which is interesting also in that most, we found this out when we were doing a business card for someone, but most front doors open inward.
They shouldn't.
Most of them do. They open this way.
Yours does.
No, most of them do. Yours does too. And there's a reason.
What is it?
The reason.
It's not good for fire safety.
Well, the reason is that the hinges are then on the inside, so that somebody couldn't take the hinges off your door and get in. However, there are cases where it makes more sense for the door to open out. And since I changed the stairway, which is I don't have it showing yet, but you'll see when we go inside, I changed the staircase so then the door couldn't open inwards. So that was one of those things where I did it and then afterwards went, oh, that was probably a bad idea. But anyway, I did Google doors opening, did find that out.
That's a new fact for the day.
That's a new fact for the day. So I think that's about it for the outside, and it's not done. So wherever you see, because I changed a lot of it, there was no instruction that said cut this length. Like when I was following the kit, it would say cut this 15 7/8 inches high. But when I was doing this stuff, it was just guesswork, and I did guess wrongly in some places, but I'll fix that up. I'll just use plastic wood and dab it in there, and then this will all be
In the real world, that's why they put all the trim on to cover up their boo-boos.
exactly, and that's what I'm doing. So this will all be white, I think, with the wood, and all these gaps that you see will be hidden and disguised. So are we ready to turn it around?
We are.
Okay. So actually, before I turn it around, I will say that my original goal for today was to have the third floor done and installed. And I did do that.
I have a lot of original goals.
Yeah. Well, that was fine. And I accomplished it. Except I didn't like it.
Oh.
So I ripped it out. Well, I didn't install it permanently. If I want to install there's dry fit. A dry fit is where you're putting something together with no glue just to see if it all fits. Then you actually, the next step is to apply your wood glue and your clamping or your weights or whatever it is, whatever pressure you're going to use to keep the pieces together. In between there, I can do a semi-dry fit. I think that's my own term that I just made up. But where I use hot glue, and I can put it in, use hot glue, which doesn't adhere to the wood very well, especially if the wood is painted. So I can temporarily affix something in, removing it later. So I temporarily put the third floor in. Hated it, and I'll show you why after. But let's look at what we did do first. So turning. Oops.
You really need a big lazy Susan, don't you?
I had a turntable out of the fridge, but it didn't work. It was too wobbly.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me when it's a good view.
Gorgeous.
Can you see it?
Sort of churchy.
So, my goal. So, here's another little picture I want to show. This is what the inside was intended to look like. So, 6 small rooms. And
Are we going open concept?
we are now, yes. We weren't, but we are now. So this was the room I was talking about. See those 2 windows, how they're different heights and different widths? Don't know why they did that. And there's the window box going out to the side. Well, I think in the style of the house, the Victorian, they're probably thinking potbelly stove. They're not thinking a built-in kitchen, modern kitchen. It was a whole different way of kitchen. And most of the ones that I looked at, most of the reference pictures that I tried to find, had the kitchen on this side and the living room on this side. But if I want to do a full-on modern kitchen, I needed wall space. So I raised those windows up. Well, I made it 1, raised them up, and I'll tell you how I did that in a second. And filled that one in completely. And that gives me an L-shaped kitchen. Oh, and I added this, so that when you come in the door, you've got a place for coats and little foyer.
Are we going to have a center island?
Oh, yes, we are. So this is going to be your kitchen, full on L-shaped there, island here. Okay? That'll take me a while to do. I won't have that done for a bit. But in order to change something, like I did with those windows, but when you get these kits, they come like this. Okay. So it's like punched out.
Oh,
I think it's a bit different now. It's more like a laser.
yeah.
There's different machinery that they use now, but this is what it looked like back in the day. So if I wanted this to become one piece of wood for whatever reason, this is all the porch stuff that I'm not using. So if you just imagine that this is the window cutouts in this panel. So I just fill these spaces with white wood glue, soak it in, let it dry really good. I don't have it thick. I try and get the glue sort of to seep into the cracks, and then I just take like drywall, like spackle, whatever you call that stuff, plaster over it, and then so then I can change it. So then I can
Just
cut
wood.
it to whatever shape I want. So that's how I did the window thing and changed it. Anyway, where were we? Okay, so this is gonna be the living room, and I kind of wanted to keep it sort of as a display for artwork and neat things. So I'm not going crazy with color yet. I guess we should talk about the floor, because the floor was interesting. The floor, I did the floor out of popsicle sticks, but this is the second floor, not popsicle, it's coffee stirrers. So the first floor I did, none of this was attached. Okay, the walls were in the other part of the basement being painted. So I did all the outsides, all the insides first. You don't have to, but I just thought, well, I might as well. So this was just a platform. Made it really easy to work on, made it really easy to lay the sticks down, and I'm gonna do a demo on that at the end. I'm doing the hardwood floor. And so then I thought, I want to paint it, I want to stain it dark. So I stained it, and of course the thing with this is that it's not real wood. Well, it is wood, but it's not good wood. So you start to stain, and any little bits where there was glue, even no matter how much you sanded it, it repels the stain, so it was very blotchy. So I kept staining it and staining it until it was just black and it looks like I painted it. So I thought, okay, I can live with this, I think. It'll look really good when I get the high gloss on it. I'm sure it will look really good when I get the high gloss varnish on it. And it looked like crap. It was horrible. I do have a picture of it somewhere, and when I post the pictures on the website, I will post that picture of the black. I don't think, I won't bother trying to find it on my iPad, it would take too long. But it was just too much, and it might have been because the outside was dark. And unfortunately, probably it's unfortunate that I had taken a picture of it at this stage. So then when I looked back, I was like, oh, damn.
Better.
I didn't believe it. It was so nice and light and clean. So I'm going to rip that out. So I started digging at it. I started digging here, I think. I started digging back here. Got a couple of really nice big holes in it. And it was all spongy. And I thought, I don't have to dig it out. I just have to put the floor on top.
That's what I did in my house.
So there you go, you see. And because they're so thin, you're not losing anything. So I did have to repair the holes that I created. But that wasn't that big a job. And then I relayed the whole floor down. And I'm much happier with it now. It hasn't been, it's had one sanding, but it hasn't been varnished. I think this one's got one thin coat of varnish on. So that's not done yet, but that's what it's gonna look like. What was the next step? The next step was, well, I thought with the vaulted ceiling, I knew I wanted a vaulted ceiling in the living room, and I knew I didn't want the whole second floor. And
You're not concerned about dusting around those plants so high?
It's not my problem.
Oh, all right then. It's a dollhouse, you can reach it.
Except, well, I'm not living in it. It's somebody else's problem. Besides, they're fake plants.
Oh,
So they don't need water. So the second floor would have gone right here. And then there was a wall. So the basic changes I made were cutting this floor in half. But then I had to have a way to support it. So I ordered these that Tessa wanted to steal from me to use as magic wands, and I wouldn't let her, and she was mad. But I ordered those from somewhere.
kids can be such a pain.
I know, like she wouldn't listen. I was like, you can't have that. So I got that support, and that was another thing I did last night. Was I took a picture of just like what you're doing. Fireplace is okay. The guy needs to get up and cut some more wood. So the built-in bookshelf, fireplace, TV.
Is the house already sold? Are people moving in, or?
Yes, there are new homeowners.
Okay.
This I'm gonna have to take out And sometimes, and I don't know what causes it, plexiglass and super glues and different glues don't mix well. And I think I might have put it together too fast. I don't know. There's a chemical reaction with the glue, and it fogs it up. And I think it's because I was trying to assemble everything too fast. So I'm going to probably take that out. And I also think there's a way of doing plexiglass, and maybe Jonathan knows this because he seems to know a lot of things.
He does know odd stuff.
Bending the plexiglass instead of taking the two pieces and gluing them together. And I did try. I looked it up, and I did Google it, and I tried it, but it just kind of went. So
yeah.
Clearly, I had too much heat, and I didn't bother trying again. But it needs to come out, so maybe I'll work on that a little bit more. So the third floor. Oh, so I don't know. Can you see the acrylic railing here, Janine? I don't know if you can or not.
Oh, yes, we can see everything.
Now wait, I didn't just talk about the
It's right there in front of my face.
Steps are another big issue.
So this is right here, the acrylic.
Yeah. Well, safety. Safety first.
Safety first. Don't let the kids fall off the floor.
I forgot about the steps. The steps are interesting.
Oh,
So, I don't know how much you can see, but in the original dollhouse, there were two of the, what is this piece called? Not a riser. I forget. It has a name. Whatever. There are two of these.
stringers?
Oh, maybe. There are two of them that go on each side of the step, and then you have the riser and the step, riser step. So it's very solid and very blocky. And it was to go, I think it was to go right about here. Was it that second? I think it was to
Oh,
go
yeah,
here.
because there were two floors.
That's where the hole was, I think, or somewhere like this, anything like that. But it was very blocked off. Like you couldn't see through it. It was like a solid wall, and I just didn't like it. And I almost considered not putting it in at all because I don't have one in the other house, and that's a.
There's a big discussion on dollhouse builders about
There is
stairs.
There
Yes.
is about stairs, about bathrooms, which we'll get to.
It's
in a minute.
philosophical differences.
Yeah, there are. So I'm of the thought that I don't care if there's stairs or not. I want it to look good, but I did like this idea. So I put the two stringers, I think they are called that. I put them together to make one center one. And they are going to be floating stairs, and they are going to sit right here.
Oh, cool.
So that's why the door can't open on the inside.
No, no, it can't.
Talked about earlier. I don't have that quite straight. I don't have them in yet. I don't want to put them in permanently just yet, but that's where they're going to go. So there is a division. There are stairs, but it's not really blocking anything off. They were going to go here in my head originally, and I was going to magnetize them, which I think would have worked. And then if you were playing, like anyone's going to be allowed to play with it, but
Yeah. Certainly not Tessa.
no, she's pretty good actually. She's the gentler of the bunch.
Well, she doesn't take things away to make them
The
into
wand,
wands.
yeah, come in the second floor will be gone because the wand will be missing. But it did really block it off too much, and I thought, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna go here. And in hindsight, which usually doesn't work out for me, this did work out really well, and you'll know why in a little bit. Okay, are they straight? Not that it matters, because sorry, they're not glued in, but I'm sure they're straight. Okay, so then the next issue that I had was this was over here like this. I don't know if you can see where I am.
I see all.
This wasn't here this morning, and it bothered me because it's like that. I mean, I know no one's going to be standing on it, but it just bothered me because it was just engineering. It just wasn't going to work. So I thought I'll just stick that in, and it does work, and it looks better. So the third floor. So this is what my goal yesterday was to get this third floor in. So I did get the third floor built. Oh, can you look under the ceiling in the kitchen, Janine? Can we talk about that for a minute?
I do.
Put a little bit of decorative stuff on that bottom of that ceiling. And I did it on this one too, and we'll go through that at the end, although it's pretty simple.
Sort of a coffering. Oh, it
Sort
is.
of, yeah. And I could have done it with a thicker, like this. This isn't finished.
This is going to be lovely.
I could have done it with, well, yeah, but I gotta cut it in half. You'll find out why. You could do coffered ceilings with this kind of stuff, but I didn't have enough of this, and the stores aren't. We can't go shopping, so I had to use what I had around. Resourceful. So one thing I would do if I were doing this again, and I did do it this morning after I ripped this out, was make a cardboard, if you're unsure of something, is make a cardboard template.
Mhm.
I'm not going to put this in because it's hard to get in and out, but I'll show you what it looks like with this one.
Ah,
Okay, so cardboard template, you can stick it in, stick it in this side. You can see why I don't want to do it with the wooden one. Oh no, it'll be fine. Okay, I'm not going to do it because that's not, that glue hasn't been in there that long, so I don't want to wreck it.
okay.
I'm going to go this way though and show you how small, up here, how small this room is.
Oh,
So there was a dividing wall here. It's like a triangular shaped dividing wall, and it comes out to about here. Comes out to the edge. But it was, you couldn't put a bathroom in there. You'd have to be 3 feet tall to use the toilet. And I didn't think to measure it beforehand because I had done all this research and looking, and everybody had a bathroom out there, and I was like, well, it's got to be the right size. Not the right size at all. I even had the marble floor done for the bathroom.
oh,
You can see the shine on that, baby. So it's really
it's
disappointing.
very slippery for a bathroom, you know.
That's okay. It's again not my problem. So there's going to be a marble floor somewhere in some house someday, but not this one.
Oh,
So I had to decide, okay, do I sacrifice, do we need a bathroom? Do we really? Because this, in theory, could be part of a house. Right? You're not necessarily looking at the whole house.
oh,
So I'm like, the bathroom could be in another wing. The bathroom could be wherever. It just didn't look right. It looked silly, and I'd rather sacrifice it and not have a bathroom than have one that looked ridiculous. So I opted for a cut-off second floor.
uh-huh.
We're still having trouble getting it in here. That's why cardboard does help. Now, I should have grabbed the tape first. I'm gonna tape it in. I don't know if I should have. That was dumb. Oh, it's not the first
I
dumb
have a
thing
spare
I've done.
hand
It's
if
not
you
the
need
first
to know
dumb
that.
thing I've done today. It probably won't be the last. I don't know if I can do this or not. I'm probably gonna break something.
What's that expression? I've done 6 dumb things before breakfast.
Yeah, Alice said that. Oh, it's in Alice in Wonderland. I think she said.
I don't think she said the dumb things, though.
No, she said impossible.
Yes.
I've done 6 impossible things before breakfast. Well, I've done 6 dumb things today. There
I
was
always
one.
allotted myself 3 major screw-ups
A
a
day?
day. Yeah. Well, that was when I was teaching. You know, you're busy and you.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Was that a good day or was that a bad day?
Well, that was your average day.
Your average day.
Bad day, you probably had 10 major screw-ups.
Okay, so I think I'm much happier with that.
Uh-huh.
This is still going to be a very short room, but it's going to be a kid's little cubby nook. It could also be a bathroom. It's got more room. It doesn't have height though, so I think it probably won't be. I think it'll be like a. That's why I made that swinging chair for, but I'm going to save the swinging chair for next time
Oh, okay.
when the attic is done. This is probably not quite right, but I think it might have to. I think I might make the corner meet this corner, so like so, with the acrylic railing to match this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And then to access the second floor, you're gonna have
A ladder.
ladder. So you can still get up the stairs, get into the room, climb up to the second floor. I was up all night dreaming this up, I gotta tell
I
you.
have no doubt in my mind.
Like for one, I was in the basement at 2 o'clock looking at it thinking, what the hell can I do? I'm sure Sam thinks I'm right out of my mind. But it was driving me crazy. I thought I had to figure this out. Having access to the second floor wasn't hugely important to me. I didn't care that much, but it did work out. So I was happy about that. And so this then will have the same ceiling, little bedroom, whatever,
Coffered.
big bedroom. Yeah, it'll have the same ceiling as this.
Mm.
So that's kind of it for this part of it. The trim, all this trim goes on. And the color, I was really debating the color because I liked there. I saw something in a mushroom with mushroom trim. Callie's doing her house like that actually,
Oh,
and it looked really nice. And then
is her house little or big?
her house is little, but the trim is fairly
Is it,
wide.
is it like a dollhouse or is it?
Oh no, it's her real
It's a
house.
people house,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, her real house. But it gets tricky when you get into this because you're not dealing with real wood or real windows. So to try and make a division of color was looking messy. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it all white.
I like white.
If I want to change, then I was gonna do the walls, but just an off-white, leave all the wood white. Start to put 2 different colors of white. The same thing though. When you start dividing things up, you don't have clean edges like you do when you've got. Well, we don't either. In a real house, I guess you do. So I just left it white. So that's it. The first one is going to be the coffered ceiling. So I just grabbed a piece that I wasn't using. So you have to imagine that this is a bigger piece of our ceiling. And you want to, with a pencil or ruler or whatever, get a pattern. So this one, it just happened to work out evenly, which was kind of a fluke. Don't eat the ceiling. Give me that. So make your pattern first. These ones I did a little while ago so that I'd have somewhere to start. So masking tape is another way that I used to do to clamp things. If it's not clampable, use masking tape. So I would take, I'm trying to use what I have because of the situation that we're in. So I took these wider tongue depressors and cut them down a little bit. They were a little bit too thick. I didn't have quite the right thickness, so just cut them down with a razor knife. They're easy to cut, especially lengthwise. And then this cuts them.
That tool, go over that tool again because that is an amazing.
It is an amazing tool.
Just hold it steady.
It's called a miter shear. And if you're doing if you're doing flooring at all, you need one. If you get away with it, if you weren't doing flooring, but if you're going to do flooring, it's a must-have. So
Well, who wouldn't do
this
flooring?
changes. So it's also good for picture frames, and it was great for the bay window. So it goes from 45, 60, 75, 90, blah, blah, blah. So that's gonna, these ones are a little bit harder, but these ones are just like zippity zip, zippity zip. So
Cool.
I would go, what I did with the kitchen ceiling and the big ceiling was I would do all my lengths first. So I had that ready to cut so I could show you how it worked, and then I didn't do it. Had it marked and ready to cut. So I would just throw my glue down there. I use little clips as clamps, so I would clamp it. Clamp this end, and again I use this glue, the Aleene's, but you can just use wood glue. This just dries fast, so you can progress a little bit quicker.
Good name.
Tacky or Aleene's?
Tacky glue.
Tacky glue. It is a good name.
Says what it is.
It says what it is. So I use these. So you can't, obviously, if you're in, it depends where you are doing it. You can't always clamp it if it's in the middle. But you can use masking tape, which I do often. And then I just used the thinner pieces. Now look at how short that is. So in that case, see how much is missing? If this were a real ceiling, and it's not, so I'm not going to do it. Oh, sorry.
Cover it with molding.
I missed a step.
Okay, missed a step.
Missed a step. So once I get all these made, so I would do all of these main bigger pieces first, but then I would fill in the seams with I'm gonna. If you're gonna paint it, you just use the spackling for compound. Any kind of white plaster, pink stuff works too.
Like popcorn ceiling?
Popcorn. Like drywall. I
That,
don't know what you call it.
well, most people call it popcorn ceiling. Everybody hates it.
Oh no, not you don't make it textured.
Okay.
Or maybe it is that stuff. No, it doesn't have any grit in it. It's very, very smooth.
Okay.
It's just like I don't know. I want to call it drywall compound. Maybe there's another name for it, but
That sounds like a good name.
that's as good a name.
It's
as
as
any.
good as tacky glue.
Now it is. If I wanted to leave it wood, if something was wood, I would use wood filler, which I hate using wood filler because it dries out so fast. I bought a tube. I use it all the time, and you can never get it out of the tube. It drives
Yeah.
me nuts. But you need it, so whatever. So I would fill all.
I
These
think you
cracks.
can only use it once.
Maybe. But they should make it in smaller tubes.
I know.
Or they should make a lid in a can that pushes down so no air can get in. That would solve everything.
But then you wouldn't have to buy a new one.
That's true.
You're not really into marketing, are you?
No. So I would fill all of these spaces and then give it a light sand. And then go to your next layer and do the exact same thing. But if I had to cut a second piece, I wouldn't cut that little tiny piece. I would cut it here and then fill a piece.
Oh.
Just because it's easier and just because it's going to make more sense seam-wise. And then you just repeat until you've got it all done. And then you give it a lot of coats of paint. I'll show you this one, and I'll show you what I would be doing next. Because I did say it wasn't finished. So this is an odd-shaped one. And so I really had to fudge it. I had to decide. This was a splice. Okay? So this floor came into floor ceiling, whichever way you're looking at it. Whether you're looking at it from the up or the down. Don't touch me. I didn't need that splice at all. I could have left it off and I could have made the floor solid with the wood on the other side, because this is going to all have wood on it as well, like hardwood. I was thinking of doing wider planks, and I still might. I haven't committed to
Very
it.
trendy.
The only thing with the wider planks is they do tend to curve a little bit, so you really have to weight them. I'm going to talk about the floor in a minute, so I'll just hold off on that. Get back to that in a second.
Do you have like an anvil or something you put on these things?
I have this thing my mother used for me.
Oh, I know. My mother had one of those too. We called it her eyeball.
But I wish I had about 8 of them. But I'll use cans of paint, or I'll use, I mean, you can buy weights, but there's always something around. Little pints of paint
Yeah, cans or something.
will work well. So I had to deal with this design issue. So that's what all this business is all about. Again, in hindsight, if I'd realized it when I was putting it together, I could have left that slice off and it would have been completely hidden by the decorative stuff. But anyway, so I worked around the shape. This is a weird little thing here. But you also have to remember that some of these spots aren't going to be very visible. Some of them are. But what I would do next, after this has probably got two coats on it, that really needs to be sanded. But I would take that same spackly stuff and just give it a fill in all the. This is really rough wood, and it depends on the kit. Some kits, there's a company.
It's quite gorgeous.
There's a company called RGT, I think, and it's different qualities of wood. So this is quite got quite a lot of texture to it. So I would probably put some spackle on that and smooth it out. It would look more like plaster. So that's what I would do next, and then give it another couple of coats of paint. So this is an example of where I used the hot glue, just because I was going to be using it as an example, but I can get it right off. Here's another interesting tidbit. So back in the day, when this kit was made and when mine was made, the suggestion in the instruction book was to use a hot glue gun. However, and I did not know this, and I have Googled it, so it must be true, hot glue sticks have changed drastically over the years, and they no longer are good for wood. Although, I did hear someone say that there's a new one out that is good for wood. Anyway.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't say any of the answer. I just said I had an interesting fact. So there's a lot of dollhouses out there that are hot glued together that just literally are falling to pieces because they weren't intended for that use. But anyway, I do use it though a lot because what I'll do is I will, if I've got something in a weird place, like if I couldn't mask and tape it or if I couldn't clamp it, you can put white glue along your strip and leave a little space every now and then. Put your hot glue very quickly, get it in place, and then the hot glue basically is holding it in place while the wood glue dries. So the floor is not basically, well, you're using the coffee stirrers. Some of them, I kind of weed through the pile first. Like you can see, like this one is kind of thin and broken. That one's kind of wonky. So I'll ditch those. Make sure I've got the good ones out. And again, if you're going to stain it, if I was going to do it again and I was going to stain it, I would cut a whole bunch of pieces. So basically what you want is you don't want all the same pieces. You want different lengths. So I cut a bunch of them that are one length. The length of the stick. And then when I get a whole pile of them done, then I'll cut X number of them, not in half, but in 2/3 and 1/3. so that you've got a real varying.
Backseat, force seat, yeah.
However, I did make the mistake once in one, I think on the first floor, of just altering it back and forth on every other row, and that was just about as bad. I don't have one I can show you, because you could still see the seam, like the seam lines still. How can I explain it? So I went short, long. So I was doing this, so I wasn't using, but the alternate ones were still the same, and that was just as bad. You could, it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So you really have to vary, but I should have started, I'm starting it backwards and working. I'm working backwards. I'm going to start again at the beginning. So if I were going to stain it, I would stain them first. So I would get them all cut, throw them in a batch of stain them first. Then you don't have to deal with the glue repelling the stain, for one thing. And you do, they are different colors. I don't know if you can see it here as much, but you can see it here. How, like I haven't done any coloring on this, and they're quite different. So you're going to get different colors of stain, and they're going to all be...
I think we call that organic.
Okay, we'll call that organic. Good. So I would stain them first. And you can stain them with real stain, but I wouldn't like do this. I would dump them in a bucket and swish them all around with the stain and then lay them all to dry. Because like you're not going to stain each board individually, nor do you need to. And I would also, especially if I was doing it dark or white, I would paint the base first. Because when you do see through it, you'll see the same color and it won't be as noticeable. So I would always paint this first. And I did read that before I went over the black floor. So luckily, so there's not a lot of cracks in that though. It depends how good you are at piecing them together. And I don't have my sanding block here, which I should have.
Your which?
My sanding block. So when I do cut them, I have a little, but you don't need a sanding block. You can just have sandpaper stuck down to the table and just do this.
Oh.
And that is just going to make it makes a much neater, cleaner join. It's a bit painstaking. You can do them all at once, not all, obviously, but you can take a little bundle.
Yeah.
Put them together, get your sanding block there, and just. I mean, you're not like sanding.
You
That's
wouldn't.
all you do.
You wouldn't want to Dremel, no.
I mean, you don't. And so then you're just applying them, gluing. Same as the other method is just and just alternating back and forth so you don't get.
Two.
And then at the end, I just take my.
You want a random pattern.
You want a random pattern, and at the end, I just take my sand and let it dry. And if there's a spot where it's, I don't fight with them too much. If there's a spot that's close but it won't quite fit in, I'll take a push pin and I'll just stick it in there until it holds. But if it's really bowed, it just goes out. I don't fight with it. That's silly. They're not very expensive. It's not like you're using
Real hardwood
or lumber. So I think that's it for today. So for the next time, this floor will be done. I hope.
The ceiling
will be done.
And the floor.
The ceiling will be done. The floor will be done. And for demos, I think we'll do plants. I do have a few little paintings that are going to be fun. I forgot to show those.
Oh, I love art.
So we're not sure what this homeowner wants, what style they want yet, but we've got a few little things.
I think they like quite a lot of modern. Oh, that's pretty.
Well, it doesn't go with that, but I'm not taking that one off right now.
Oh, that suits, doesn't it? That looks very nice, and it picks up the.
And it might look good there.
Yeah.
I might not have just the right one, but these are gonna. I'm gonna do a line of these, and I'm also gonna do a line of mobiles.
Oh.
Color style mobiles, which I think will be really cool. And this is the one. This is what the back of them look like.
My mother always rotated art with the seasons. Okay, so this is your.
So they're actually little canvases.
So this is basically just a frame, and you.
It's made out of the same wood that I don't think I see any there. But
Hi, Nikki.
1/4 inch balsa, and I just make the canvas frames. See, some of them are just foam board, but I prefer to do it. I prefer to do them like a real canvas, and then they'll have a string. But I just can't get that wood right now, so it's a little bit. So that's where we're at with those. So we'll do a plant demo, maybe a little canvas demo. There's really not much to demo on that. I'll think of something else for the demo for the next one. So thanks everybody. Thanks Janine.
If anybody has an idea for a demo or anything they'd like demoed.
Well, this one's going to be a while before we get to furniture, I think. But
That's your favorite, isn't it?
it is, and I'm kind of, but I don't want to start it until I get.
I know.
Once I get the floor done, I'll feel comfortable enough to start it. These are too tall. I can tell that right now. These are gonna have to come down to about that height probably. I mean, they don't really have to be there, but I just thought it kind of added interest. I really like that ladder though.
Yes, that's
I
a cool
really
idea.
like it. I'm very happy with that. That was worth getting up at 2 o'clock for.
Hmm.
But the little room upstairs, I don't know. It's much better as a loft or as a high ceiling. So these now I'll just, if I can, I'll find the little tabs in the box because they're all basically the same size, and I'll stick it in. If I can't, I'll just cut a piece of wood, stick it in, fill it with plaster.
Yeah, the rest of us just put our art over those things in real life.
Well, some people, well, we do in real life, but I'm trying not to. It's tempting though. I definitely won't have the kitchen done, possibly not even started for the next time, but I might have something else done furniture-wise. And then we'll do a little demo on that if we have a piece of furniture done. So thanks for watching, and I'll post it on the website.
Yeah, the edited video will appear on your Facebook and also on the on your website.
But don't hold your breath.
It's at margielauren.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because every time we do it, it seems like I have different problems getting it.
I have different problems every time too.
So anyway, thanks everybody. See you.